The night I took my future back, I wore the only black dress I own, the one my mother bought me the year she died because she said a woman should have something simple that fits anywhere. It fit at a gala. It fit at a war. The Palazzo Orsini glowed the way rich buildings do when they believe the evening belongs to them. Inside, under chandeliers that looked like frozen applause, my stepmother, Beatrice Orsini Neri, accepted kisses on both cheeks like she was royalty, and the checks people pressed into her hands were medals for bravery. I waited by the audio desk, a nobody in sensible shoes, the headset on my hair like a borrowed crown. Her voice poured through the room, smooth and practiced. "Tonight," she said, lifting a glass, "we fund the dreams of students who need a chance." My chance had been stolen by the woman under the lights. I am Anna Neri, 22, daughter of Lorenzo Neri, a gentle Florentine who knows how to repair an old clock but not how to refuse a beautiful woman with a confident plan. After my mother, Chiara, died, Nonna left a college fund in my name, a clean account with rules carved in Italian, university only, withdrawals only to tuition. The bank manager, Signor Conti, shook my hand when I turned 18 and said, "Your grandmother thought of everything." I thought so too until April, when the bursar at the University of Bologna wrote to ask why my payment had been reversed. Reversed is a polite word for gone. I called the bank. The woman on the phone softened her voice the way people do, when something has already happened, and they can no longer protect you from it. "Ms. Neri, I can't discuss details by phone," she said, "but if you come in with your ID?" I went. Connie met me at his glass desk and made me tea, which is what bankers do when there are no more polite words left between you. He slid a statement across the desk without meeting my eyes. The fund was emptied in 3 transfers to a family account managed by Beatrice. Authorizations. A power of attorney signed by my father last year, then a memo instructing the bank to consolidate for stewardship and efficiency. Stewardship. I said, the word like a lemon rind against my teeth. "It's for my tuition." Connie spread his hands. The documents were in order. "My father barely understands online banking," I said. "He clicks what she tells him to." Conti breathed out. "Then bring me something stronger than suspicion. When the world turns unfair, you either drown in feelings or build a raft out of facts." I built. I found the notary who had witnessed the power of attorney, Avvocato Ricci, a man with kind eyes and a posture that could hold a building. He remembered my father. "He signed with hesitation," Ricci said. "Your stepmother spoke for him." I noted her presence. Ricci showed me a copy, my father's shaky signature beside a clause that allowed temporary consolidation of family educational funds. Temporary is a beautiful word for thieves. It places a bow on a box already empty. "Can it be revoked?" I asked. "Of course," he said, "if the principal requests it." He paused. "But requests require clarity." Clarity. Beatrice fogs rooms. She does it with perfume and charity, and that effortless laugh that makes people decide her version of events is the one that will ruin the least dinners. She started a foundation last year, Borsa Orsini, raising money to bridge students to their future. I volunteered once, and she told me I had a quiet-faced donor's trust. Now my face would be the last quiet thing in a room. Proof first. I asked Connie for the transfer timestamps. They lined up with days Beatrice told me she was meeting florists for the gala. I checked my father's phone backups. There's a photo of Beatrice holding a pen over the power of attorney with the caption at last. Order. I recorded a voice memo of my father saying, "I signed what she asked. I thought it was for the foundation." I printed everything. Statements, memos, of my father saying, "I signed what she asked. I thought it was for the foundation." I printed everything. Statements, memos, screenshots. I slid each into plastic sleeves because paper swims better in plastic if thrown into a storm. Then I asked Ricci for something new, a correction deed revoking the power of attorney, a simple assignment placing the college fund back in my sole authority, and a sentence written with a craftsman's calm. Signer acknowledges prior transfers occurred without beneficiary consent and will be reversed. He said, "This will hold." I said, "I need a stage." Beatrice gives herself a stage every day. The gala was Saturday. I offered to help with AV run of show in a message sugary enough to pass. She sent a thumbs up and a heart, which made me want to sanitize my phone. Donors would arrive at 7. She would speak at 8. At 8:10, she would cue a slideshow of scholarship winners. At 8:20, she would flirt with a baron. At 8:30, she would beam. I asked the tech vendor for the backup laptop under the pretext of formatting. I loaded 2 decks, hers and mine. I set the clicker's custom button to switch inputs. In the front row, I placed 2 reserved cards for guests who were nervous and necessary, Connie the banker and Ricci the notary. I invited my father and told him to trust me. He looked scared in the way good men look when they realize the truth will ask them to stand up. When the room filled, Beatrice floated on stage in silver silk that mirrored the chandeliers. "Your generosity changes lives," she said, and people nodded, relieved to be the sort of people who change lives by raising paddles during dessert. She thanked the chef, praised the violinist, raised her glass to family. My father smiled the tired smile he reserves for long dinners. I watched Beatrice's thumb stroke the clicker like a talisman. She clicked for the slideshow. The screen behind her filled with glossy photos of students holding acceptance letters. She looked radiant, drunk on applause. Then she raised the glass again and said, "To stewardship," and her thumb pressed the button I had reprogrammed. The image on the screen changed. My grandmother's fund statement appeared, dates and debits in a column that looked like the heartbeat of a person growing faint. A rustle of confusion washed through the room. Silk on silk. Beatrice turned her head, still smiling, as if a person could bend reality with teeth alone. The next slide arrived, the memo instructing the bank to consolidate. The next, a screenshot of the power of attorney with the clause circled. The next, an audio waveform. My voice filled the room. Not shaky, not kind. "Do you want to hear what stewardship sounds like?" I had recorded the line that afternoon in the hallway outside Ricci's office because drama is ethical if the facts are clean. I pressed play. Beatrice's voice from a call Connie had saved as a courtesy and as a shield unspooled. "Yes, Senior Connie, transfer the full amount. It's family money. The girl is too young to manage it." The word girl landed like a hand on the crown of my head. I am 22, not a girl. I am old enough to build a stage. Gasps are not all the same. There is the delighted gasp at a surprise dessert. There is the scandalized gasp when someone's dress fails. This gasp was older. The sound of a room remembering greed has good table manners. Beatrice didn't turn to look at me. She looked at the tech booth. "Change it back," she said, and those 3 words told me everything I still needed to know about her. I stepped out from behind the curtain. The microphone was not heavy. I took it the way you take your own name back. "Good evening," I said. "Thank you for coming to fund students. One student in particular has had her fund diverted by mistake." I let the room hold the word. "A mistake that will be corrected tonight." "Anna," Beatrice said, smile ironed flat, "we should discuss this privately." Privately is a room where people like her win. "We have discussed it privately, Beatrice," I said, turning my face to her like a mirror. "You told me it was bookkeeping. The bank told me it was instruction. The notary told me it was pressure. Tonight the truth will be public, so the fix can be, too." My father stood, which he does rarely. "I didn't understand what I signed," he said, voice shaking. He took 2 steps toward me as if distance is a thing you can fix with shoes. "I'm sorry, Anna." I know, I said softly, and then louder for the room. He does not handle the money. She does. A hand rose in the front row. Ricci. As notary to the original document, he said, I can witness a revocation now. He lifted a leather folder like a magician revealing the end of a trick that, it turns out, was always a lesson. If the parties are willing. Conti cleared his throat. The bank will reverse any transfer made under a revoked authority with acknowledgement that the beneficiary did not consent. Beatrice laughed, short, furious, the laugh of someone used to moving obstacles with social muscle. This is a circus, she said. You are embarrassing your father. Only because you asked him to play the clown, I said. She took a step toward me. You have no idea how much work I do to keep this family's reputation intact, she hissed, and there it was, the truth kneeling behind the word reputation, as if reputations prefer clean floors to clean books. This family's reputation, I said, is safest when the money for a student's future stays with a student. I held out a pen. The room leaned forward. A room like that has a favorite sport, and it is watching someone justify themselves. I didn't give them a justification. I offered a choice. You can sign Ricci's revocation and acknowledgement, I said, and I will tell the papers tomorrow that we corrected a clerical error at your gala. Or you can refuse, and I will show these slides again to a room that likes to eat stories for dessert. She looked over my shoulder at the donors. She searched for someone to back her and found only men whose wives were watching. She looked at my father, who had been good to her and was now, finally, good to himself. He nodded once. She took the pen. The silence that followed wasn't kind. It was attentive. She signed her full name in a hand too hard to be elegant. Ricci signed his. I signed mine. Connie stepped to the stage and took a photo of the notarized page with a corporate phone that sends images to servers with less poetry than mine. He typed a message and said, Reversal request submitted. You will have your funds by Monday. Thank you, I said, because banks like manners. Beatrice tried one more angle. For the foundation, she said, throwing her arm toward the screen like a martyr offering her best wrist. What if it's good work? Donations tonight can be returned, I said, or, if donors prefer, they can be held in escrow until the board adds an independent treasurer and publishes audited statements. I gestured toward a side table where I had placed printouts bearing both options. Some donors stood at once, relieved to have a script that made them both generous and clean. My father stepped forward. He reached for Beatrice's hand, not in forgiveness, but in witness, as if to place it on the page she had made necessary. She pulled away. Her face had the blank beauty of porcelain, expensive, empty. This is a betrayal, she said. No, I said, lowering the microphone. This is a boundary. The violinist, who was also a person with a mortgage, started a cautious piece, as if music could shoo the truth back into the corners. It could not. The chandeliers kept shining the way chandeliers do, indifferent to who is underneath them. After, in the side room where staff eat sandwiches, my father cried like a quiet machine finally shut off. I let him. Then I put a glass of water in his hand and said, It's done. He nodded and said, Your mother would be proud. I said, I am proud, because a daughter is allowed to be the person her mother hoped for. Quick mid-CTA in my place. Would you fix it privately, or make the reveal public at the gala? Comment private or public, and tell me your line. The reversal posted Monday, exactly, as Connie promised. The bursar's email subject line read, Payment received. Welcome to Bologna. I printed it and slid it behind the notarized revocation because some victories deserve to share a folder. Beatrice moved her charity's office to a smaller, less glossy street and sent a statement about procedural improvements. She did not send me a message. That 2 was a choice. I moved to Bologna with 2 suitcases and the black dress at the back for exams, funerals, and nights you decide your life belongs to you. I rented a room with a window that overlooked a red tile roof and the future. I learned the tram schedule and the sound of the morning in a city where no one knew Beatrice's laugh. I studied like someone whose name was written in ink on her own page. Sometimes people ask if I regret doing it in public. Regret is a word that pretends time will give back what it took.
No.
If I had pulled her aside, she would have polished the story until it reflected only her. The gala was not revenge. It was proof with a microphone. Months later, I returned to Florence for Nana's birthday. We ate cake with strawberry jam, and my father told me the old clock had started keeping better time. He held up his wrist like a schoolboy and said, "I have learned two-factor authentication." I laughed because that is what healing sometimes sounds like. A man announcing a code sent to his phone is now his business. Beatrice did not come to family dinners. I heard she started funding a scholarship with stricter rules, audited quarterly, overseen by women who do not confuse generosity with power. If that is the only apology I ever get, I can live with it. Here is what I learned and what I will carry in the small pocket inside every dress. Paperwork is love. 2. It is the love of future you enough to make the past behave. People who speak smoothly about stewardship often mean control. If your money has a name, keep the name where the money sleeps. And when someone steals with a smile, give the truth a stage big enough that even the chandeliers must listen. What would you have done? Confront quietly over espresso, or click the slide at the gala. Comment espresso or gala, and tell me why. If this story hit close to home, subscribe and turn on the bell. Next week. My aunt hid the real will. Nana's lace purse recorded everything.